How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to Overtime Video. Today we are talking about tournament results, the new ban list, and heroes post Photon Hypernova. So stay tuned. All right, got a lot to talk about. It has been about a week since my last video, and a lot has happened. A week's worth of locals, and so I had a Photon Hypernova sneak peek on Sunday, and then just a normal locals on Thursday, and we're gonna go over my results from those, things like that. So let's start with Thursday. Thursday last week, it was about a 15-person turnout at my locals, and I topped. I placed third. I went 3-1 for the day. The other two who topped were playing Kashtira and Tyr. 2 Tyr decks and a Kashtira deck, top 4. So that was pretty awesome. Won some product that day, and that tournament went really well. Droplet put in a lot of work that day. I made D-Force a lot, and D-Force, the plasma, was incredibly helpful. On Sunday, we had our Photon Hypernova sneak peek over at my locals. And let me tell you, those did not go super well for me. I went 2-3. I lost to 2 Sprite players and a Tier player. And I won against 2 decks. I won against Cyber Dragons, which was pretty easy. And I won against, oh man, I'm having a hard time remembering. But 2 rogue decks that I won against, and then I lost 3 against the meta. And that was tough. That was a tough day. Heroes did not perform super well. Droplet was not hitting as hard as it could have. I did not see Kashtira that day, which was nice. But yeah, so that tournament did not go super well. I got the field center. I did not get the mat, so that is why we are sticking with the old faithful Karibos. I will be getting a new mat on Sunday, which is pretty exciting. But for the real beef of this, which you've all showed up for, heroes post Photon Hypernova, and specifically post February ban list. We have had some huge changes to the way the meta is going to run. Tier limit is pretty much dead. I still think you're going to see a little bit of it at your locals, mixed in with a couple other engines, such as Naturia tier limit. I think that's still going to be a pretty viable deck. But tier limits is pretty much out. Sprite got a huge hit. Totally Awesome is not going to be as huge of a driving force in the deck as it used to be. And heroes are going to really need to change their playstyle to adapt to this, because Kashtira is the new meta. With the new cards that came out, with Tier and all of that getting banned, Kashtira is the meta. So, with Kashtira entering the scene as the new meta, heroes are going to be facing a lot of challenges that we have not faced in the past. Floodgates against banishing are going to be very big targets. Things like Imperial Iron Wall. People are going to be running just a lot of decks that don't need to banish, and a lot of decks that are trying to stop your opponent from banishing, since that is such an important part of Kashtira. And heroes really like banishing. It's our route through Vion to get Poly. Darklaw is one of our biggest floodgates as Macrocosmos, and people are going to have outs to that in their main deck. So we really need a way to get around that. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and hop into my deck list for the new meta. I'm going to go over what I'm running, what I'm cutting, consideration, since this isn't a complete deck list. I'm still figuring some stuff out for the new meta. And I'm going to go over what cards you should run, what cards might not be as powerful, and how we're going to beat meta. So, I am going to be honest, this is not much of a change to what I was running before, just because I haven't played against the new meta too much, but I will go over the monsters, spells, and traps, just because there is some differences. We're going to go over that elemental hero engine first. So, Shoutout is still at 2, he is still the starter of the deck, but we do have a lot of ways to search him out, especially since I am running Emergency Call in this engine, so in this profile. So Stratos is not great at 3, but that does mean we're not running as many hero like monsters in the deck. So it does get a little clunky at times, and I'll show you how I fix that. 2 Shadow Mist, very important card in the deck, lets you search out your mass change, lets you get a hero search for your combos. But mass change is not as powerful as it was before. And the reason we were running 2 copies is because 1 in the deck to special summon to search the mass change, 1 in the hand to send to get the search off of your Ferris and things like that. Now that that is not the case, Shadow Mist might get cut down to 1, because it is very easy to search in this engine We have double Emergency Call and Erota and Stratos. It's incredibly easy to search. This card might get cut down to 1. We will see. But for the time being, Liquid Soldier, it is amazing, puts in a lot of work. Getting that extra draw power is very helpful right now, because you do want to draw into your outs like D-Force since Nibiru is back. D-Force really lets you capitalize on Nibiru, and I'll talk about that when we get there. We're running Spirit of Neos. He is back in the deck. He really is kind of just another name to have. He's an option to go with for favorite contact if we have to use our malicious for something, or sorry, an option to go with for Fusion Destiny if we have to use our malicious for something else. He is a protection from battle. He is an alternate route to search Poly, and that is the main reason we're running him now. A route to search Poly that does not use banishing or the graveyard whatsoever. This is our anti-Beast Shield. This is our anti-Imperial Iron Wall. This is how we get to Poly if we have to get around that. Honest Neos is in the deck. It is a very powerful card just for going for game and also protecting your copies of Darklaw, your copies of Plasma, which is going to be very important in the new meta. And really, it's just a beater. And then finally, to round out our Elemental Hero lineup, we are going with a Neos. A very strange card to run right now, but I will explain why. So, like I was saying before, this deck does have an issue with, since we are not running a lot of hero names, you kind of run out of heroes at a certain point. You run out of monsters. So a lot of times you'll need to Foolish something off of Vion when it's summoned, and you won't have a good target. If you've already used up your Malicious, or you have the Fusion Destiny in your hand, which I do see a lot, this card kind of circumvents that. It's helpful in the graveyard because it works with our EN Shuffle in the graveyard. Also, Spirit of Neos can tag out into Neos, and with a card that we're running later in the deck, this card has really good synchronicity. It synchronizes really well with the rest of the deck. It's very nice, and I am still playtesting it, trying this out, but I think it'll be very useful. Moving on to our Vision Heroes. This lineup has stayed the same, still just the double Ferris, just because it's so easy to search. The double Vion, don't want to see it in the hand too often, just because we are doing the Ferris. And the Increase. Also, this engine has gotten a little worse. It's very graveyard reliant, with this card wanting to banish, this guy bouncing back from the graveyard. It's incredibly graveyard reliant, and with Kashtira being so rampant and playing under Macrocosmos all the time because of Kashtira, things like that, this engine has gotten a bit worse. So these ratios, I think, are the golden number right now. And then for our Destiny heroes, again, these guys are very graveyard reliant too. So we'll have double Malicious and our Denier, just our DPE targets. Very graveyard reliant, incredibly graveyard reliant. If these guys get banished, it kind of sucks. And so we will be running Board Breakers to try to get rid of Kashtira's Macrocosmos effects. Plasma, as usual, he is our skill drain. He works really well with D-Force, which I will explain a little more in a moment. Whenever we come up to that in the spells and traps. And he is our Nibiru out, since that is going to be very rampant in the current format. And then Dark Angel. Dark Angel is our answer to Kashtira. Dark Angel says, you need no monsters on your board, now you have one. Now you have a card on your board that cannot be, like, you can't special summon your Kashtiras. If you don't have Birth, you kind of lose. And so if we make Dark Angel, and then we have our DPE on the board, as soon as they play Birth, we pop it with DPE. And now they are not getting their Kashtiras. And it's great. They cannot play through Dark Angel. And also, Birth can't even activate when Dark Angel's on the board. It'll fizzle. And so, these are a little less powerful, but in the current meta, these two cards are going to be very rampant, very viable. Going second, this card will be sided out, just because, like, especially against Kashtira, because we won't be able to use our graveyard. And it's not a very useful card going second, but going first, we need it. And then Plasma is just super powerful against Nibiru. I just recorded the entire spell and trap list and realized I did not press record. So, let's get back into this. Triple Hero Lives to start off the spells. It is a starter for the deck. It gets you out your Stratos. It gets you out your Darklaw if you need it by going into Shadow Mist. This card's very important. I would never cut this card down. Triple Fusion Destiny. Every day that I play in locals, I see this card, and it is incredibly impactful, but it is getting weaker with time. DPE is not as powerful as he used to be. He's not as much of a game changer. The graveyard is not as powerful of a resource under Kashtira, so this card is getting weaker, but I think it is still a 3-of, just because at worst, it's a free body on the board, and at best, it's full combo. Triple Mash Change. This card is weird right now. Because Kashtira is so rampant, and its main goal is to banish cards out of your, just banish cards, it's Macrocosmos. People are going to be stopping things that banish cards. They're going to run things like Imperial Iron Wall. They're going to run things, pretty much just non-banishable decks, right? Things that don't need banishing. And so Dark Law is a lot less powerful. If I was going to cut one of these 3-ofs, I would cut this card down to 2. But for now, I want to try it out at 3 and see how it works, because I do think Blast and Acid could be very good against Kashtira. I think Blast being able to get rid of their Birth, get rid of their set Spell or Trap, that's going to be very helpful. Moving on to the 2-ofs, we're going to start off with D-Force. And I said I would talk about this card, so I will. This card is incredibly powerful at a 2-of in this deck. Because Nibiru is returning to the format, you need an out to it. And D-Force Plasma is your out. And shout out to D-Time Yu-Gi-Oh! He is kind of the guy who pioneered this. I'll put a link to his channel down in the description. This combo right here is very powerful. So, when you have D-Force in the hand and you get Nibiru'd, you really want to save your Malicious and your Denier for follow-up. So, when you have D-Force in the hand, or Plasma, either or, but preferably D-Force, you have those in the hand and you've gone through full combo, save your Denier and your Malicious if you believe your opponent is going to be running Nibiru. Because these cards can turn into Plasma anytime they want. At any time with Cross Crusader. So, what you do is, as soon as they Nibiru you, you bring back Malicious, you bring back your Denier, and you link away, you bring cards back. The classic combos to get 3 monsters on the board using these guys. Cross Crusader, blah, blah, blah. And then you play D-Force. First thing D-Force is going to let you do is search out your Plasma. It is a continuous spell. When you play it, you get to search out a Plasma. So, you do that, you grab your Plasma, and while this card is face up on the field, and Plasma is face up on the field, you gain a few benefits. So there is one drawback. You can't draw during your draw phase, which I know sounds terrible, but it's okay. Heroes can play without drawing. We do not need our draw, because we can just break boards. So, the benefits are, your opponent cannot target any card you control with card effects. So any board you're able to recover with, D-Force protects. Also, including this card, they cannot target D-Force. They cannot target any of your spells and traps. They cannot target your monsters. You are safe. Also, Plasma, right here, is going to gain 100 attack for every monster in both the graveyards. Also, he cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, he can make 2 attacks during the battle phase. This guy becomes a beast. So what you do is you make your Plasma, you attach their Nibiru to it, so you'll steal it, attach it to him as an equip card. Now this guy's gaining 1,500, he's gaining minimum 500 for your cards in the graveyard, and he cannot be destroyed by battle, he is a walking skill drain. This is your out to Nibiru. Now, for the rest of our spells and traps in this list, we are just running a double E-Emergency Call. This card is a consistency river in the deck. Really just keeps you with those E-heroes in your hand, which you need. So Stratos, Shadow Mist, whatever you need in this situation. And it is not a once per turn, which is very helpful. For the 1-ofs, we're just doing 1 Poly, 1 Miracle Fusion, 1 Ian Shuffle, a Rhoda, and a Triple Tack. Triple Tack and Rhoda just put in work. They are needed in the deck for consistency, for protection. Ian Shuffle, I was running it too during my tournaments, and it was very bricky. I am thinking of putting it back to 2 since I am running the Neos now, and this does let you banish itself to grab the draw 1 whenever you return the Neos to the deck. This card is a little better since it lets you get Poly as an alternate route without banishing. You just summon Stratos, Ian Shuffle it away to make Spirit of Neos, and you get a Hero Search and a Poly, so you can grab Liquid Soldier and your Poly, fuse into Sunrise using Liquid Soldier and Spirit of Neos, and you've got a draw 2, discard 1, and a Sunrise and a Miracle Fusion all under a banish. You can do all of that under a banish. Also, if you're not under a banish, you can tag the Spirit of Neos out into Neos, fuse away with that, and now you've got to draw 3, discard 1 when you banish this card. So that's pretty nice. I did run 2 polys at tournament, and this card is a mandatory, of course. I did run 2 polys at tournament. It was pretty clunky, so I do not think I'm going to continue running it. I just think this card should be at a 1 in the deck. I think that's kind of what it belongs at. And then finally, for the trap, I'm running a Singular Favorite Contact. This card is incredibly powerful in tandem with Spirit of Neos. Whenever you've already used your Ian Shuffle, so you can't search that, and you've already got your poly, this is kind of just an added bonus. It lets you bring back your banished heroes that got taken away by a Rise Heart, by your opponent's Macrocosmos. It's really good against Kashtira, and it basically just says special summon a fusion monster that mentions heroes, ignoring its summoning condition by placing the materials from your hand, deck, graveyard, or banished on the bottom of the deck. Or sorry, hand, field, graveyard, or banished on the bottom of the deck. You can dodge things with it, you can protect your heroes, you can get things back from banish. It's got a lot of benefits, and if you happen to use Neos to make it, to make the hero, you shuffle Neos back with this card, it can't be returned to the extra deck, which is a nice little added layer of protection. That's it for the main deck. If you'll notice, I am running 37. That's because I do have 3 slots open. Previously, I was running Droplet. I don't think I'm going to continue running Droplet in the new meta, just because sending cards to the graveyard, which is what's specifically listed in Droplet's text, is not going to be nearly as viable since Kashtira is so rampant. So I think I will run what everybody else is running. I'll probably dip into Book of Eclipse, because it's very good in Heroes, since when you're turning all their cards face down, with Heroes you can just make Trinity and boom, 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 beat over all of them. They've got a clear board, and you're pretty good to go for game on the next turn. So it will be a pretty nice board breaker in Heroes, and it does play well into other decks that aren't Kashtira, so that will, and it doesn't really use any resources. So that's a very viable card. It's very much like a Heroes cheap Dark Ruler. And so that is going to be it for the main deck, and we'll get into the extra deck in a moment. Alright, y'all. This is my updated extra deck for Photon Hypernova and Banlist. I am using the Field Center to kind of cover everything up. I do like having something to cover up my extra deck so I can keep it face up. Let's just get right into it. So, for the links to Cross Crusader, a Wonder Driver, and a Dread Decimator, I've already gone over this in my first profile. This is very standard. The extra deck has not changed super much since my first profile, but I am still running the DPE, the Sunrise, the Escorial, the Absolute Zero, which I am making a lot more. I'm making this card all the time nowadays, especially since I was running Droplet. Now I will be outing it with DPE to break boards. And then we have our double Dark Law. I think this card's going to go down to 1 in the extra deck in place of... I'm still figuring that out, but this card will probably go down to 1. We've got a Blast and an Acid. These guys are very important right now. Mass changing the Ab-Zero into the Acid to break their board is great against Kashtira. And Acid being able to wipe their back row, Blast being able to quick effect get rid of back row. Those are incredibly important right now. Dark Law is a lot weaker though. And then Trinity, Dangerous, Dystopia, the classics. They kind of are just a board breaker. This guy is going to be super important in the new meta. Dangerous is your combo piece in a Dark Law. And Dystopia is usually a side deck card, but since I don't have... I was running Dweller in his slot, but since I'm not running Dweller anymore, since the graveyard is not as much of a resource in the new meta, Dystopia's back. I probably will side deck him again once I get a copy of Baguska. I think that's going to be a powerful card in this deck. So that's it for the extra deck. Very quick, very basic. That is just, you know, everything kind of similar to what I was running before. And we're going to go ahead and hop into our side deck. All right, so for the side deck, it is incomplete right now. I'm missing a few cards, and I will tell you what those are. But to start us off, 3 Nibiru. It's crazy in this format, especially against Kashtira. This card's going to be very good. It was very bad against Tyr, and it is much better now. We are going to be running 3 Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries. I'm currently only running 2. One that I picked up at the shop, and 1 Ultimate Rare that I pulled out of an OTS pack. This card is beautiful. I am looking to get rid of it, but I am kind of sitting on it for a bit. I think the value is going to go up on this because people are going to start running Ghost Reaper a lot more. We will be running this at a 3 of, along with Shangri-Ira in the side deck. And it's pretty much just our out to Kashtira. I am thinking of cutting down a lot of the side deck cards once I felt out the meta a little bit at my shop, and just adding in the extra deck cards that the people at my shop are running. So we'll be getting rid of things like Lubellion, because Albaz is going to be a lot more powerful now. We'll be getting rid of things like Arise Heart when it gets a little cheaper. We'll be getting rid of Shangri-Ira. We'll be getting rid of, if Sprite players are still alive, we'll be getting rid of Sprind. So that is going to be a very powerful card. And those will all be on the side deck. 2 Cosmic Cyclone. This is probably going to get cut for extra deck cards. I will have 3 Lightning Storms. I don't have them on me right now. And then triple Rivalry. Rivalry is super important going first, but going second, it's terrible. So that is why I have it in the side deck. And that is the side deck. So we have completely finished out our profile. All right, so before we wrap the video up, I do want to just go over a little bit of the combos I was explaining, specifically the Ian Shuffle combo with the Spirit of Neos and the Neos to get the draw 3, because the combo can be a little confusing, so let's just get right into it. To get the combo off, you need any of these 4 cards, and preferably a Hero Lives is the best one, which we'll do our example with, but Stratos is great, and these 2 are just going to let you search out Stratos. It's just, this preserves our normal summon if we use this, so I'll go the route that way, and then you need Ian Shuffle. So that's why I am thinking about adding it back to 2, just because it is nice to open. So, to start off, you're just going to activate Hero Lives, and you're going to special summon your Stratos. With the Stratos, you're going to go ahead and search your Liquid Soldier, and then you will activate Ian Shuffle right away, shuffling in your Stratos back into the deck to grab your Spirit of Neos, because Ian Shuffle lets you shuffle in an elemental hero and special summon an elemental hero with a different name from the deck. So we'll special summon our Spirit of Neos. On his summon, he's going to let you search a poly or a card that mentions an elemental hero's name. We're going to grab poly in this route because that is the goal of this. So we're going to grab poly, and then we're going to activate Spirit of Neos' second effect. Now, you don't see this very often, but what it does is it lets you tag him back into the deck by shuffling him back into the deck, tag him out for a regular Neos, just the normal one. And you'll see why we did that in a second. So now we're just going to activate Poly, sending away our Liquid Soldier and our Neos. And that is our first light monster in the graveyard, so that is when we're open to Bestials. But he won't be staying there for long, and people don't really know to hit Neos, so you usually will get this combo fully off. We'll make Sunrise, and then off of him, we will Chainlink 1, our Liquid Soldier in the graveyard, which is going to let us draw 2 discard 1, and our Sunrise to draw 1, to search our Miracle Fusion. So we'll add that to our hand. We're going to shuffle the deck, and then we will just do a standard cut, and we'll do our draw 2, discard 1, just to give you an example of what you can pick up off of this. So just a little bit of shuffling. We'll do a standard cut, and then draw 2, a Malicious, and a Fusion Destiny. We can go ahead and drop off our Malicious. Now we have that in the graveyard. And then, now that we have all this on the board, in the graveyard, we can activate the second effect of Ian Shuffle. So it says banish Ian Shuffle, and then shuffle back an Elemental Hero and a Neospatian, or Elemental Hero Speed of Neos, or Elemental Hero Neos. So we're going to shuffle him back into the deck, and that's going to give us a draw 1. And so with this, we've seen 3 cards off the top of our deck. We were able to pick up Fusion Destiny, we were able to get Malicious into the graveyard, and all of this is very non-prone to Bestials. And it's basically our way to get Poly without banishing. The Ian Shuffle thing is kind of just a greedy little +1. But as you can see, it does let you get Poly and Sunrise and a Miracle Fusion without banishing. You get to draw 2, discard 1. And that's basically if you're playing under Imperial Iron Wall. We'll draw another one, and we got our D-Force. So we've got a lot of lines here. We still have our normal summon open. We can Fusion Destiny, make some plays with that. We've got a Malicious in the graveyard. If you're playing under a banish, such as a Rise Heart, it is a little different. you will have to, you won't really get in, you'll get the draw 2, discard 1 off of Liquid Soldier, because it says, when this card is sent to the graveyard or banished after being used for a Fusion Summon. So you'll still get his effect, which is awesome. But you won't get the draw 1 off of Ian Shuffle, and you will not get your Neos in the graveyard. Nothing will be in the graveyard, so it'll be a little harder, and your discard 1 will go to the graveyard. Actually, will be banished. But it is still a way to search Poly without getting banished, like without having to use Vi on all of that. It's a 2-card combo, so it isn't as powerful as our 1-card things like Ferris and such. But it is an alternate route that we kind of have to build through this meta. And yeah, I really think it's going to be powerful. So yeah, that is the Ian Shuffle combo. But that is the full deck profile. And my theories on what's going to be good against Kashtira in Heroes, I think Plasma and Dark Angel are going to be some of the main drivers going forward. So that is my thoughts on Heroes. Drop a like if you guys liked the video, and let me know down in the comments what you would like to see, if you want more combo videos, if you want me to dabble into other decks, which will probably be a little bit more of a long-term thing. I am still running on a pretty shoddy setup. I still have the spatula setup, which you guys saw in my first video. But yeah, I'm planning on making more frequent videos when I have more stuff to talk about, and whenever I have more experience with the new meta. So thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe if you guys liked the video, and stay tuned for more hero content. Thank you guys.